Can you imagine your life where money is your friend, working with you to achieve all your dreams and desires? If you struggle seeing money as your friend, then join Kathy Cook Noble, financial advisor and educator on understanding how your money can work for you. It is possible. Now, here is Financially Speaking with Kathy Cook Noble.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Financially Speaking. You are listening to Kathy Cook Noble, your host. That is me on the Inspired Choices Network, and I'm always excited to come to you every week and talk about something financial and hopefully dispel myths or concerns or confusion that the financial industry tends to have a lot of. And especially right now, it's a very unique time in the financial world and also in the healthcare world, as we know. And I always say in the show that everything comes back to finances. And I don't mean it in the sense that money is anything other than just another tool that we have in our life. It's not something that we should be worshiping or craving or sacrificing for. It's something that is necessary, that we want, we seek out, and we keep a healthy relationship with. That's how I think it should be. I know there's a lot of people out there that haven't got a healthy relationship with money yet, but that doesn't mean that you can't, and it doesn't mean that you can't have the right mindset for having a healthy relationship with money. And that's what I hope for everybody, is really for you to just focus on your own stuff. And by that, I mean just know what your own costs are, what comes into your house, what goes out of your house, and just keeping track of your own cash. That's all you have to do. It really is that simple. And that's how you can build whatever wealth you want. Everyone's dreams are different. And I know I've said it probably like a broken record on the show, that you only need to understand your stuff. You don't need to understand everybody else's. Understanding everybody else's, if you're not a licensed advisor like myself or a bookkeeper like myself, then it's only just for fun or for interest that you're looking at everybody else's stuff. If it's not your job, like it is my job to know what's going on in different people's portfolios and stuff, then really you're only interested in it because you're curious, it's entertaining, it's something that you can do in your spare time. But the reality of it is you only have to understand your stuff, which of course I believe everyone can understand their own stuff. And here at the Inspired Choices Network, we are all about having a whole approach to your life. So I handle the financial side of things, and that's one tiny part of what makes up your whole entire being. And there's so many other wonderful shows that I encourage people to tune into on the Inspired Choices Network that help you when you need assistance with your kids or your family dynamics, or if you need help with growing your business, or if you need help with mindset, or you need help with your pets. Whatever the case is, I'm sure there's a show that can help you with that. And the hosts are so very kind and easy to get a hold of and talk to. You're able to log in live to our chat room if you have questions or comments that you need to discuss with the host about. If you want to call in, you're welcome to call in from anywhere that you're finding yourself isolated or self-quarantined in these days. But you're truly able to chime in anytime. And if there's something that's missing, that you're listening to the show and you're thinking, wow, there's this one component that needs some voice to be heard on the network, then by all means reach out to Christine. She is our producer as well as the owner of the network. She's also the host of the Inspired Choices Network, Christine McIver, and she would be happy to talk to any of you at any time about ways to be a host of your own show. And if all of a sudden I just said that and your hair stood up on the back of your neck because you thought, oh my goodness, I can't do that, you definitely can. Believe me when I tell you that somebody that's a number cruncher like me, who sits by herself most of the day, who's typically an introvert and shy, if Christine can help her get on the air, she can help you get on the air. So please reach out if you see something that you would really like to get more information on, because if you're thinking it, so too are other people. So keep in mind, the show is heard in replayed in over 50 podcasting platforms. And if you can't join us live, that's okay. You can join us whenever you're ready, and you can hear the show on replay as many times as you want. And the beauty of it is you can share it with your friends, you can play it later, and you can just take the parts of it that you need from the shows that you need. And you can always email us. You're welcome to email me at Kathy@bookkeepplus.ca. You'll see the contact information and everything on our main website page, and I encourage everyone to reach out. So that's a bit about the network, a little bit about the show. I mentioned I'm an advisor, a financial advisor, as well as have a bookkeeping practice. So our goal is to help people understand their stuff every day when we talk to them. It's a little bit more of a challenge because right now we're in the same position as the rest of everyone out there. Is you're not allowed to do face-to-face meetings where you have to self-isolate. You have the 6.5 foot distance for social distancing, and it's been a very interesting shift in the way we're doing business, the way we're communicating with each other, the way the financial markets are working, because they shut down the trading floor a few weeks ago, and everyone is working from home on a digital platform. So it's a very interesting time, and it can be very scary. And today I want to talk to you about this whole environment that we find ourselves in from a financial point of view. So I know it's very scary out there, and there's a lot of unknowns, and none of us really know in any part of the world how long our self-isolation is going to be. We really don't know about vaccines. We really don't know the true cause of how the COVID-19 is transmitted. We really don't know a lot. And with a lot of unknowns, I find comes a lot of fear. But here's what we do know. We do know that we're all in this together, and we do know that we all have been through things that have been very hard and stressful, and we make it through. And I believe without any hesitation or doubt that we're all going to make it through this. And I do think that going through something like this makes you stronger. It makes you more aware, and it makes you start to think more about your situation. And I would have to say, especially your health and your financial situation in this particular case. So the financial situation is what I want to talk about. This is probably the best opportunity, because I know there's a lot of fear and unknown out there, but there's also opportunity. And the opportunity right now that everyone has being self-quarantined is to really learn to track your cash and get a handle on it. So now that you're home or wherever the case is that you're finding yourself situated, there's always an opportunity for you to look and say, okay, now more than ever, I need to get a handle on my finances. Because if you are on the essential list of employment where you're still in the capacity to work, even from a modified work setup, you're still working differently, and you're still working in isolation and probably at home. If you're one of the non-essential on the list, that means you're not able to go to work and you're not able to interact with people, and that translates to not being able to make money. This is a time for you that you really need to be looking at your money, because you're on a very fixed, very sort of short leash, I guess you'd say, of your money, where there's not a lot coming in and there's not a lot you can do about it, except you can look at your finances, you can get control of them, you can track your cash. You do need to know, and this is one of these times when people are finding out how much money really does flow out of your household, because you're seeing the bills go out and you're really starting to see how much money was flowing into your household, because you're not seeing it anymore. Now, we're going to talk tonight about the government programs. And again, I am licensed in Canada. I am living in Canada. So tonight I have to tell you it's going to be a little bit focused on the Canadian programs that are available. But I do want to mention the American programs, because I do see a lot of the programs getting put in place, because obviously with Canada and the United States being so close, a lot of what we do gets affected with from one country to the other. Our financials are very tightly tied to each other. And so we're watching the Americans as well as the Canadians there is stuff, I will say, all over the world, and I can't even pretend for a minute to tell you I know everything that's going on in all the countries, but I do know that the federal governments are working on programs that are emergency response programs, bailout programs, whatever you want to call them. They are working on federal funding for everyone so that you're able to stay home, you're able to social distance, you're able to protect your families, and you're able to get through this with the least amount of financial pain as possible. And I do say financial pain because for some people it very much is. And I know I read the stats and I see the numbers where the average Canadian isn't in a position to write a $500 check. I think it's $400 for the average American. I know that we owe $1.30 roughly for every $1.80 for every dollar that we're bringing in. I get the debt. I understand that a lot of people are on a paycheck to paycheck type basis. This is the opportunity, I think, that you can really start to get control of that and say, you know what, when a financial crisis hits our household, this is when we really need to get prepared, and this is our opportunity to get prepared for it. You're at home with your spouse or your partner, so here's the other opportunity. You're locked in that house together. So this is the time when you say, well, we never have time, we're never home to sit down and talk about our finances. Well, guess what? You're forced to be home, so this is your chance to talk about your finances and to start to plan, hey, what's working? And when this crisis hit, were we ready? Were we not ready? Do we have savings that are going to help us through this? I know there's government programs that are coming out in big support for Canadians and Americans and all of you around the world. Your governments are working on programs. This is the time to say to your partner, hey, you know what? Now we should look at how much pain did we feel and how scared were we when we were told we aren't going to be able to work and not going to be able to receive an income. Now, if you're working in a sales job, for example, or retail sector, and you're completely out of being able to work and you're based on a commission or bonus situation, then you don't have that coming in. And this is your chance to say, how much of our money are we relying on? And to start to really have a good look at what you're doing with your money. Because like I've always said, you can understand your stuff. If there's two people that live in your household that are bringing in income, you only have to understand your two pieces of income. And you only have to understand the expenses for that one household unit. And that includes, what you're spending in groceries and what you're spending on car payments and mortgage payments. Are you living within your means? Does it make sense that your house has been refinanced 3 times? Or does it make sense that every year you trade your car? And I give you examples of those because I see that a lot. I've spent many, many, many years, over 20 years in the automotive world, and I've dealt with vehicle financing for over 20 years, and I've seen people get upside down in their lease payments or because they need to trade in. They don't have to because it's a necessity. They want to because they want a newer vehicle or they think it's a prettier color to have the next model up or whatever the case is. You have to ask yourself, what do we need and what is it that we want? Because there is a difference. And these are the times where I think, you know what, take the opportunity, figure out how much money's coming in, how much money has to go out. This is when you really learn the difference between a fixed cost, which is your mortgage payment, your car payment, your insurance payments for your house, your utility payments for the most part. There's some stuff you can do, versus your variable costs, which are things you can control. Obviously, your fuel consumption for your car and truck, whatever you drive, is going to be less right now because you're not out driving around as much. At least you aren't supposed to be. So maybe your fuel mileage or your fuel consumption has gone down. You might be really paying attention to what you're buying in groceries instead of fast food all the time. So this is a chance for you to really be saying, hey, I've been spending a lot of money on fast food taking my lunch. Now I'm really watching the right pricing and the right stores for ordering my food from or buying my food at. And this is your chance to really start to get a handle on it, because the reality is this is going to be something we're in for a little while longer. And we really need to understand our money, because once we do, we're going to feel better. We're going to feel a little safer. We're going to feel a little more confident. And then the real beauty of it is when we come out of this, which we are going to, you're going to be in a much, much better position where you're going to say, you know what, I really didn't need to spend that much money on fast food taking my lunch. We got along just fine during this last month of isolation. So when you go back to work, you're going to be able to carry on and realize that now you're going to trim your costs. You're going to actually put more money in your pocket because making more is the same as saving more. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to take our first break of the night. And when we come back, I'm going to talk to you about some of these programs that are coming up, that are happening, that are now in place and so forth with the Canadian government. And I know I'll mention the American side too. So don't go anywhere. You are listening to Financially Speaking with myself, Kathy Cook-Noble, on the Inspired Choices Network. And when we return, we're going to continue to talk about how we're going to thrive through COVID-19. We'll be right back.
Too many of us get caught up in the unreal lives of reality television and complete to acquire stuff, which is setting us up to accumulate lots of debt. We're scared, confused, and don't know who to talk to. By tuning into Financially Speaking radio show with financial advisor and educator Kathy Cook-Noble, you'll learn tips you can use to improve your financial health, which in turn can improve your overall health and make for a very happy life. Live a life you can afford and enjoy. It is possible. Listen for Financially Speaking radio show every Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Mountain, and 1 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email becomeahost@inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. This is Financially Speaking radio show with financial advisor and educator Kathy Cook-Noble. To participate in the program, call in the U.S. 815-880-8255. Canada 613-800-8736, or Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email by sending to Kathy@bookkeepplus.ca. Now back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. You are listening to Kathy Cook-Noble on the Inspired Choices Network, and this is our show, Financially Speaking, which we are talking today about the COVID-19 pandemic that has really swept across the entire world and affected everybody, whether or not you are sick, whether you know someone that has been sick or worse from this virus. We're all in this together, and we're all going to get out of it together. And by that, we're going to look at our money tonight, and we're going to talk about how can we make sure we hang on financially, not just hang on, even possibly get control of our finances. This is the opportunity that we have to sit down, get our money in order, understand our money, and really, if you do nothing else, track your cash. People get fancy on budgets and spreadsheets and all this. Just track your cash. Write down on one side of the paper what comes in and write down on one side of the paper what goes out. And at the end of it, add up or subtract one from the other. And if your money going in to the house is a whole lot less than the money coming out, then you got to make some changes. It's that simple. You got to make more money or you got to cut your costs. And if the money coming out of your house that you're spending is a lot less than what's going in, that's great. Make sure you're being efficient. Make sure there's nothing else that you're missing, and make sure you have worked in savings and investment as part of your flow, because you need to look after your future self as well, not just as your present self. So that's the opportunity that we're presented with right now, that we're locked up in isolation and forced to really, really look at our finances, because your income source has just been taken away, essentially, if you're not able to go to work. So there's a bunch of programs that I know the governments are working on, the various governments in various countries. I heard today that the American government expects the payout for Americans to be starting this week on the COVID emergency payout. Americans are going to start receiving it this week up to the next couple of weeks that they'll be starting to get their money deposited. I did hear that if people have filed their 2018, 2019 taxes and they did it and they made any payments that they owed online, then they're starting with those people because they've got all their banking information and they know they're already set up to be receiving money online. So it's all going to be done digitally. I can tell you in Canada the same thing is happening. So there are a lot of cash flow strategies and government incentives that are happening right now in Canada, and I want to share some of them with you. If those of you are in business, I'm going to talk to you about some of the business programs. I'm going to talk to you about some of the individual programs. So it's not just one or the other. We're going to talk about both tonight. I'm just going to give you the highlights. I can't possibly get into all the details of all of them, but I do want you to know what to look for and maybe go onto the Government of Canada website and see which program fits you. So I'm going to start with the Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy. That is a program that the government has set up, and it is intended to help with fulfilling wages, really, because people who can't work can't make money. If you can't make money, you can't pay your mortgage, you can't pay your car. It would be a financial disaster, quite honestly, if you had the money turned off coming in and all the money going out had to continue to go out. So the Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy, CEWS, is separate, the acronym for it. What it does, there's a temporary emergency wage subsidy that the Canada Revenue Agency is offering to businesses. So eligible small employers, you can receive a temporary wage subsidy for 3 months. And the subsidy is going to be equal to 10% of the pay during that period, up to a maximum of $1,375 per employee and $25,000 per employer. So that is a temporary wage subsidy for small business. And there's the Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy, and this is 75% of the wage subsidy for qualifying businesses, also up to 3 months. So what do you need what's qualifying? Well, you have to show a decline of revenue of 30% or more for the same period time in 2019. So if March 2019 you had sales and March 2020 you have 30% fewer sales, that is a qualification. It must be applied for separately each month. So even though it's for up to 3 months, you have to apply for it each month. So April 2019 sales, are they 30% less than April 2020 sales? Yes, then you can apply. Then in May, same thing. May 2019 sales, are they less in May 2020 than they were in 2019? If they're 30% less, then yes, you can apply. The subsidy will cover up to 75% of the first $58,700 of the eligible remuneration per employee. That's a per employee. And it represents a benefit of up to $847 per employee per week of the program. So that's here's the breakdown. It's $847 per employee per week for 3 months. That's basically what it is. Okay? So the program's going to be in place for about 12 weeks, and it started March the 15th, and they have it scheduled till June the 6th. So what does that tell us? That tells us if we need to apply for this emergency money, the program is in place as a small business. And as a side note, as a personal side note, if they're planning on this program being in place until June the 6th, I think that they're probably planning on having us in our current situation of social distancing and self-isolation. I think that you're probably going to see that it's got a little more time to it. And the government must be planning for that because they're planning programs for it. So these are the things I listen to when I hear them report. I'm like, okay, how long are you planning this program for? That to me tells me that they're expecting this self-isolation and social distancing to be maintained for at least that amount of period of time. So now that we know that, we have to plan for it. So that's for small businesses, that is the part of the Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy, one of the programs. There's going to be a special rule that applies to employees that do not deal at arm's length with the employer, and that restricts the amount of the subsidy to prevent any sudden arbitrary increase in pay during the 12-week period. What does that mean? That means these are programs meant to help people sustain and businesses to sustain themselves. This isn't meant for people to have a loophole, let's call it, where you can make money. This isn't a make money program. This is a keep yourself going program, okay? Any eligible remuneration can include salary, wages, other remuneration, but does not include severance pay, stock option benefits, or personal use of a corporate vehicle. Those are benefits that are not part of the program. They're not, I don't think they're considered essential, is what we can deduce from that. There's no overall limit on the subsidy amount that an eligible employer can claim, and the benefits are going to be in the form of a direct payment from CRA. So this isn't going to be where you apply and get refunded the money. It's going to be a direct payment from CRA, which is going to be very helpful for small businesses and cash flow. There's the claim periods I just mentioned. There's 3 periods. They go March 15th to April 11th. That's 1. Then you go April 12th to May 9th. That's 2. Then the last period that's scheduled so far, and they may add more. We don't know, because we don't know what's going to be the outcome overall. But it goes from May 10th to June the 6th. So that is some small business. Those are a couple programs for small businesses. Corporate tax return, income tax return, and payment deferrals. So corporations with an income tax return due date that is after March the 18th, but before June the 1st, there's going to be a deferral. There's no application required. The corporate tax return date is deferred to June the 1st of 2020. And any corporation that owes part of the income balances or income installments, because some people make installments in taxes, both in, all around the world, but in Canada specifically I'm talking about. The tax installments, if they're due after March the 18th and before September the 1st, you have until September the 1st to remit these payments. So it's being deferred. There's no penalties or interest that are going to apply on any tax returns filed or payments made on or before the extended due dates. So that's really important, because a lot of businesses whose year ends are happening and they're all coming due now to make their payments, if they owe taxes and there is no revenue coming in or a significant decrease in revenue, that's going to hurt their cash flow. So the government is deferring that payment. Deferring does not mean you don't pay it. It means you don't pay it today. You don't pay it the day it's due. You pay it down the road. Now, in this case, down the road means September 1st. Any people with corporate income tax payments, including your 2020 tax installments that are owing on or before March 18th and before the 1st, the CRA currently reported deferral of Part 1 tax only. That means no application required. You can defer your payment without penalty or interest. And the criteria for this deferral, it's not established in the Income Tax Act. The administration of this particular measure is based on the ministerial discretion through CRA, relying on the policy announcement by the government of the CRA. So anybody out there that wants to go and check this in the Income Tax Act, you're not going to find it, because this is part of the Emergency Relief Act or emergency benefits that they're passing at the government. So another one I want to mention to you is in Canada, GST, HST, and custom duties on imports. All the installments or remittances that are owed to the government after March the 27th and before June of 2020. Any custom duties and GST on imports due for March, April, and May 2020. These payments now, there's no application required. You have to still file your HST and GST returns. So you still file them, but you don't have to make the payment if you owe. Now, here's the part that's important. Make sure they're filed, and if you owe money, it's going to be deferred until June the 30th. There's no interest and no penalties on money that's deferred. So if your April HST is due and you owe $1,000 or whatever the number is, you don't have to pay it now until June the 30th. However, if you have a credit, so some businesses actually get credit back on their HST returns. If you have a credit back, then you want to get it in because you're going to get your refund. The refunds aren't being deferred. So this will also help with cash flow. There's obviously, it keeps you up to date with your bookkeeping. It keeps all your financials up to date, because the last thing you want to do is just ignore everything for 4 months and then try and do catch up and get everything submitted. It makes it very, very complicated. Those are some of the corporate business programs that we have. I'm going to share more with you after our next break. So we're going to take our second break of the night. We're going to talk about COVID programs here in Canada, and there's similar ones in the United States because, like I said, we're pretty closely related here. So don't go anywhere. You're listening to Financially Speaking with myself, Kathy Cook-Noble, on the Inspired Choices Network. And when we return, I'm going to share some more programs that the government's got for you with COVID-19. We'll be right back.
Too many of us get caught up in the unreal lives of reality television and complete to acquire stuff, which is setting us up to accumulate lots of debt. We're scared, confused, and don't know who to talk to. By tuning into Financially Speaking radio show with financial advisor and educator Kathy Cook-Noble, you'll learn tips you can use to improve your financial health, which in turn can improve your overall health and make for a very happy life. Live a life you can afford and enjoy. It is possible. Listen for Financially Speaking radio show every Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Mountain, and 1 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. Money is complicated, right? Actually, no, it's not. You don't have to be a trader on Wall Street to get a handle on your money. TV shows often instill fear to keep you believing you can't understand it or do anything yourself. If dealing with your finances brings up a lot of other F words, then you need to read All Ladies Should Use the F Word, A Guide to Loving Your Finances by Kathy Cook-Noble. Kathy helps you take control of your finances and leave the other F word, fear, in the dust. This is Financially Speaking radio show with financial advisor and educator Kathy Cook-Noble. To participate in the program, call in the U.S. 815-880-8255, Canada 613-800-8736, or Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email by sending to Kathy at bookkeepplus.ca. Now back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. You are listening to Financially Speaking with myself, Kathy Cook-Noble, on the Inspired Choices Network, and we are talking about government programs for relief and support with COVID-19. I was talking a little bit about the small business ones. I'm going to share with you one other one. There are a few other programs, but these are sort of the main ones, I guess. The Canada Emergency Business Account, there's going to be $25 billion that was announced March 27th, that they're providing loans to small businesses and not-for-profits. And what does this look like? Well, the government is doing a guaranteed loan of up to $40,000, and that's going to help eligible businesses pay for operating costs. That's the intention. Repaying the balance of the loan, it's actually kind of a neat idea, and the details are pretty cool. Repaying the balance of the loan on or before December 31st, 2022 will result in a loan forgiveness of up to 25%. So, what's that mean? If you get $40,000 and you pay back $30,000 by 2022, then the $10,000 is forgiven as a grant. So it's a gift, if you want to look at it that way. And to qualify, here's what the qualifications are. You need the organization, the small business, needs to demonstrate to the government that they have paid between $50,000 to $1 million in total payroll in 2019. So it's not for everybody. You do have to qualify. So if you're out there and you're a small business and you've paid $50,000 in wages in the 2019 period, then apply for the loan. It's I want to say it can be free money. It will be free money if in 2022 you have repaid $30,000 of it, then you'll get the other 10% or 25%, sorry, the $10,000 as a grant. Interest won't start It's not starting interest right now. If you don't pay it back, then what happens in January 2023, it converts to a term loan, and I think the interest rate's about 5%, but that's more on the government website. There's a lot of information out there. These are some of the programs I encourage you to look at. Let's talk about the individual now. So what is it for you, the individual? You're not a business. You're not a corporation. Well, employment insurance, obviously. Now, if you were laid off, then you qualify for EI. Then the benefits started March 15, and they'll end before October the 3rd. You can apply for regular employment insurance. If there is a work share program at your employment, then employers and their employees and they're willing to participate in the program. You can do that as long as the employer can demonstrate a decrease of at least 10% in sales or the production levels directly or indirectly related to the impact of COVID-19. So if you can prove that as an employer and the employee are willing to do the work share, then what that looks like is it's a program where the employees and the employer modify your work. So extend the qualifying weeks for the EI workshare program from 38 to 76 weeks, and then you waive the mandatory waiting period. It's ease for the recovery plan requirements, and you're now able to submit the application 10 calendar days prior to the requested start date rather than 30. So they've shortened the requirement for applying. There's a GST credit. So anyone who already received the GST credit based on your 2018 tax year, the payments were issued on April the 9th, so they've just been issued last week. There's no need to apply for this. This is automatic. If you're eligible, you get it automatically. It's a one-time payment, and it's set to pay an additional amount of $290 per person or $580 per couple and $153 per child. This will automatically be put in your bank account. You don't have to do anything about it as an individual. It's a one-time GST credit. They begin phasing out at 5 cents for every dollar of family income earned in 2018, which is over $37,789. That is the threshold. That is how they're calculating it. You're just going to see a deposit of GST into your account on or around April the 9th. If you're late filing your 2018 taxes, then the CRA encourages you to get it filed as soon as possible so you can be eligible for retroactive benefits and credits. And that's the only way to get them filed. So you have to have your taxes up to date. File your 2019 income tax and benefit return to ensure you continue to get the credits for July 2020 up to June 2021 for that benefit period. So it's important to get your taxes filed. We talk about that on the show, but right now it really matters because it literally means money in your account for you because you will get it. There is an enhanced Canada Child Benefit, the CCB. So anyone who already receives the Canada Child Benefit, the CCB, based on your 2018 taxes, you don't need to apply. Once again, this is all going to be done automatically. There's a one-time payment set for $300 per child, and the families that receive the CCB will get the extra $300 a child as a single payment, and you will get this in May. Canada student loans, anyone who currently pays a Canada student loan or apprentice loan from March 30th, 2020 to September 30th, 2020, again, no need to apply. It's all automatic. There's a 6-month principal and interest-free moratorium on the repayment of Canada student loans and apprentice loans for all individuals that are currently in the process of repaying these loans. There is no accrual of interest during this period. This is important. You're going to save money on interest. It's also, the important thing is, this is part of this you have to keep in the back of your head, that if you just don't make your payments, that's going to hurt your credit. And now they're saying, hey, we're going to defer this payment, which means it's not going to hurt your credit because you missed your payment, but you do have to pay it when it comes up. Canada Mortgage and Housing Protection. Anyone who holds a mortgage, it's effective immediately. There's tools to include payment deferral, loan reamortization, capitalization of outstanding interest arrears, and other eligible expenses and special payment arrangements. Talk to your bank or your lending institution. It's all on a case-by-case basis. This is one that's not automatic. You have to talk to somebody. Personal income tax referrals. I mentioned that about the corporate. Here's the personal one. Individuals who file their personal return with the normal due date of April 30th, 2020, you will get your refund, but there is a deferral. So if you defer your taxes, then anything owing after March 18th, it's all due back on September the 1st. So you're deferring paying your personal taxes. There is the Canada Emergency Response Benefit. That's up to $2,000 a month, and it's up for 4 months. So how does this one work? Eligible workers who cannot receive EI and the CERB, the Canada Emergency Response Benefit, at the same time. So you can't get this one and EI. If you qualify for EI, there's some people out there who do not qualify for EI. They're self-employed people typically, and if you don't qualify, you do qualify for this. So if your claim has been processed, you will continue with your regular EI. If it hasn't been, and it appears that it will automatically be transitioned to the Canadian Emergency Response Benefit after April the 6th. If it appears that the eligible workers are entitled to the CERB first, then EI once the CERB runs out. So you can not receive both at the same time, but you might get both depending on the timing and how that works. If you're self-employed and you haven't received self-employment income, which is entirely possible, you also can qualify for it. It's a very easy, very simple process. You either do it through your MyCRA account, which we have in Canada, or you call the toll-free number, and it is a very, very quick process, and it's all automated. You just answer questions by the automation, and I think it's been like 2-3 days at the most that people are seeing the $2,000 deposited into their account. So it's very, very quick and efficient. So those are some of the programs that are out there that I want to share with people. There are a lot of other things out there that have happened, like for those of you that are receiving registered retirement income funds, known as the RIFs. I've done shows about that. We've talked about that. Those are those people out there that have that. You know who you are. It's over age 71. And those people are required to withdraw the minimum from their RIFs. But what the government has done is effective immediately. They have reduced the minimum withdrawal by 25%. Now, what does that mean from a financial point of view? Right now, if anybody knows what's happening in the market, you know the market went quite a bit down. It's really had a major sell-off. It's taken quite a hit. So anybody with investments, it's only on paper, except for the people who are taking their RIFs out. Then that means their money that they're required to take out, they have to take it out whether their investments are up or down. The government has said, hey, we're going to reduce that by 25%, so you're not taking as much of a loss, and really minimizing any losses that you're going to have, and that's with your investments. So that is important. It doesn't seem like much, but it for those of you that are taking RIF money, required to take RIF money out because of the law, obviously, it does mean quite a bit. So that's a good program. There is another program through the BDC, the Business Development Bank of Canada, in coordination with the government. The BDC is the one administering the program. It's a business credit availability program. These are ones where the government is proposing, you have to qualify through the BDC, you have to do an application, you have to include a cash flow, financial statements, evidence of discussing the needs with the lender and all that stuff like you normally would. But the government has set aside $65 billion for this program, and it goes through the BDC in direct lending to help Canadian business owners with financing and credit insurance solutions. So the government is actually the one loaning the money, but they're administering it through the BDC, if you think of it like that. There's some guarantees on loans and co-lendings with financial institutions. There's going to be up to new operating credit and cash flow term loans up to $6.25 million. There's going to be some co-lending programs. Eligible businesses can obtain some incremental credit up to $6.25 million. Eligible financial institutions, they conduct the underwriting and they manage the customers. So these are programs that personally you should check out. You're either going to get the EI side or you're going to get the CERB, the Canadian Emergency Response Benefits side. You're going to qualify for something most likely. If your income is down or there's a direct result of COVID-19 that has affected your income, you're going to qualify for something, it looks like. Small businesses, it sounds like there's a lot. I have to tell you honestly, if you're a really small business and you didn't have a big payroll and it's just like maybe a you and your partner type thing, you probably aren't going to qualify for a whole lot. but there's opportunity to negotiate for rent deferrals and some cost deferrals. I know with my world, some of the life insurance side of things, there's going to be some deferrals of payments without penalties. So these are all things. It doesn't hurt, just ask the questions. So we're going to take our third break and final break of the night, and then I'm going to sweet talk and ask my friend and producer and another host on the network, Keisha, and get her to join us, because there's other stuff. That's the financial stuff, but there's a lot of stuff we need to do to look after ourselves and our mental situation, and Keisha's the perfect person to bring on and share that, because that's what she does. And we're going to take our third and final break, and I'm going to try and talk Keisha into coming on. So don't go anywhere. You're listening to Financially Speaking with myself, Kathy Cook Noble, on the Inspired Choices Network. And when we come back, we're going to have Keisha join us and help us with some mental ways to keep prepared and in good health with our mental stability with COVID-19. We'll be right back.
Too many of us get caught up in the unreal lives of reality television and complete to acquire stuff, which is setting us up to accumulate lots of debt. We're scared, confused, and don't know who to talk to. By tuning into Financially Speaking radio show with financial advisor and educator Kathy Cook Noble, you'll learn tips you can use to improve your financial health, which in turn can improve your overall health and make for a very happy life. Live a life you can afford and enjoy. It is possible. Listen for Financially Speaking radio show every Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Mountain, and 1 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. Money is complicated, right? Actually, no, it's not. You don't have to be a trader on Wall Street to get a handle on your money. TV shows often instill fear to keep you believing you can't understand it or do anything yourself. If dealing with your finances brings up a lot of other F words, then you need to read All Ladies Should Use the F Word, A Guide to Loving Your Finances by Kathy Cook Noble. Kathy helps you take control of your finances and leave the other F word, fear, in the dust. This is Financially Speaking radio show with financial advisor and educator Kathy Cook Noble. To participate in the program, call in the U.S. 815-880-8255, Canada 613-800-8736, or Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email by sending to Kathy at bookkeepplus.ca. Now back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone, to Financially Speaking with your host, Kathy Cook Noble, on the Inspired Choices Network. And tonight we've talked about programs that are financially connected to you and the potential with this COVID-19 pandemic that we're faced with. But I'm hoping we can get Keisha on here live, because there's a lot of other things. Like, I've talked about what you can do financially, but Keisha, if you're there, what can we do mentally to help ourselves get through this
Kathy.
Pandemic? Hey, there you are.
Thanks
Welcome
so much
to the
for
show.
inviting me to come play. I appreciate that. And hey, everybody. And wow, yeah. So, I think one of the first and most critical things that we can quickly lose sight of is taking care of our body. It actually goes a long way to support our emotional state, our mental state. And it doesn't have to be complicated. You can find one supplement, whether that be electrolytes or I just found out about something, and I knew about it a long time ago because I have decades in the bodywork field, but, things come and go. It's one product that it's like an oxygenated water with minerals and some other cool stuff to support, oxygenating the blood and helping circulation and feeding the cells. There is great value in putting some support into your physical body. So that's the first one that I would offer. And it can even be a multivitamin, like a good food-based daily multivitamin can make a big difference. So just kind of see for you, what I would say to everyone is see for you, like, what do you really require that one little thing, whether that's eating fresh vegetables or taking a multivitamin or doing electrolytes or finding a supplement drink, that you can do once a day. Whatever that is, that will go a long way to supporting your energy levels, and that helps you stay more mentally in the game as well. So that's the first thing. And the second thing I would say is it's a little more of a choice-related thing, but it's also equally valuable, and that is do whatever you need to do to stay out of the rabbit holes. Even when it looks big and scary, find a generative distraction. That's my favorite way to say it. Find a distraction like watch funny videos, watch a funny movie, jump up and down and sing silly songs, play with your kids and do Play-Doh spaghetti or do color art, and, get your family involved if that is something that's fun for you guys. But really just, get that distraction piece, and it's the good distraction. It's the fun distraction. It's the distraction that helps you focus on, oh, look, this part's working right now. Cool. How else can I, what else can I work with? And oh my gosh, Kathy, you're so brilliant in all of this. I just sit here and marvel every week when I get to produce your show. It's like, holy moly, this woman knows so much. I mean, you were like a walking financial encyclopedia.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for that. And I
appreciate that.
Go ahead. Yeah.
No, I appreciate that, and I know.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. No, go ahead. I love it when we work together.
Oh yeah, I've come up with the phrase for you. You're like first aid for finances. So I think we can.
That's awesome.
We can all appreciate that right now. So, but we all have the money thing come up, and we all have to look at our money. I think that's one of your critical points that you've gotten for me today. Is really, don't be afraid to look at your money, and it's with money you can talk to it, you can have a relationship with it, and just because something looks bleak right now. The biggest invitation for this right now is to get outside of our comfort zone, get outside of the box of how we have always thought it needed to be done. And for me, one of the big things that kind of rang through today in what you were sharing was, start asking how else can you receive support? Definitely check out the federal programs, the state and municipal programs, the programs that you might qualify for through different organizations you're with. But start asking those questions. And even if you have to go to your friends or your neighbors and say, look, I don't have enough food to get through the rest of this week. Can we work out a deal? Can we play together? And you don't have to be, obviously, there's going to be some, you want to deal with stay safe, do the social thing, the distancing thing, and practice good food prep. And there's still a way. There's no reason that you have to sit and suffer in silence in all of this. There is no reason. And I would be one of the first people to say, oh my God, I have pasta. I have chicken soup. I have here, whatever I can, even if it's just canned goods, share something and ask for something. And I think that's the biggest piece is just start asking, whatever you can ask to find options. And it's going to be weird, awkward, and crazy, but it doesn't have to be horrible. And it's part of how we get through this. Yeah.
That is awesome advice, Keisha. Thank you so much. Once again, thank you for your great insight, and because it's not just financial, it is mental and how we get through this. And I do have to say to people, at the end of the day, it is just money. When I saw people go through the financial crisis of 2008-09, and there was high suicide rates and all this, please remember it is just money. There is lots of it out there. You will find more of it, and we will all get through this together. Be safe, stay well. We'll see you next week.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you
Keisha.
for
That was
choosing to
great.
listen to Financially Speaking Radio Show. Kathy Cook Noble will return next Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Mountain, and 1 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. We hope you'll join us. Until then, have the best week of your life by making the choices that bring you all that you desire.